Alright, welcome back to the channel. So I've been mulling it over a few days and I've come to the conclusion, after listening to a few cartridges and going a little nuts, that this appliance is the future of the channel. It sounds 10 times better. It sounds a lot better than the original 3M Cantata, the 94BG that we all know and love, that walnut box. But this thing actually is it's a cost-reduced 70s version of the 94BG, but it runs good. I mean, I'm very pleased with it. So I've decided to take it apart, because I'm sure you guys all want to know what's in the box, and kind of come up with some differences. What makes this one different than the 94BG? I suspect it's slightly improved solid-state electronics, but I've noticed that there's a few cost reductions in there that don't actually improve anything, but it seems to what's the word I'm looking for? It seems to prevent the cartridges from getting stuck inside this machine versus the other machine. Hence this beautiful handle, which is also the power switch. I know that's controlled automatically in the other machine, whereas in this machine it's not. So a couple of things. So I got this machine, I won it off a shopgoodwill.com auction, and it was all together. It looked pretty good. Except the roller. This thing I've actually replaced. So the roller's the only thing that I've had to do to this machine to get it to run, which is pretty amazing. Some cons on the machine I don't like right off the bat is, well, one, it's ugly. This is a 4 if you're using the 10 scale. A couple of things is the thumb wheel controls on the device. You've got tone, and then you've got volume control, of course. I mean, it is pretty, the label's kind of nice, but this is infuriating, especially when you're trying to adjust it. There is no 1/4 inch phono jack on the back of the machine. You actually have to use the antenna style jack. I'm not sure what these are called, but you have the U-shaped clips like these to feed them under there and tighten it down. So what I had to do to get this to run temporarily is I used an alligator clip inside a RCA jack, and that was how I was able to stream last week, and it seems to work. And even with that janky connector, I was able to get very good audio out of it. So that's why the more I think about this, the more I look at it, I think there's a lot of potential here. So first things first, I'm going to get this cover off here. The way it works is that there's a total of 4 screws. Just drop the screw. Cover slides off, and right away most of the parts inside the machine are easily accessible. Put this in there. We actually have specifications. It looks like I got a 78 or 79 build date on this motor, so that looks like approximately when this particular machine was made. Some more differences. The 94BG has, and I'll throw up a picture, the 94BG has a control. It says something like 10-15 continuous, and that basically is intervals between the music, and the idea was, what is it? It's that concept of stimulus progression. You'd have a certain amount of quiet spaces interspersed by, slightly upbeat music to get people to shop or work harder, some kind of something like that. But this thing is designed for continuous play only. It looks like all the circuitry for, pauses has been completely removed. There's no switch whatsoever. Some more cost reduction on this thing is that there's only one pinch roller to go bad. In the 94BG, there's actually 2, and the way they did it was this assembly itself actually, let's see if I can get it to move. You could see the whole assembly, the whole head assembly moves up and down, whereas in the old one, only the heads moved. So you could see they have their 4 positions, and this thing's a really This thing's a really janky, cost-reduced version of the other one, but I mean, it works. I mean, I don't see any noticeable wear to it. Motor spins free. I mean, you know, even though it's cost-reduced, it's still a very well-built machine. You know, I would say compared to other electronics at the time. I don't know what that is. I don't know what the serial number is on this. I don't know how to decode these. So I believe it's 223601 is what it says, and the model number is a 293AG. And you can see it's a US machine, 120 volts at 60 hertz, no wattage. It's a UL listed player. It says listed 185N tape player, 3M Sound Products. And there's a stamped, embossed, well, it's just stamped. It just says 11 on it. I'm not sure what that means. We got I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see it here. There's an etching here, 223601. Okay, so that's a serial number somebody's etched into it. Let's flip this around. You've got model 293 terminals. You can see the terminals on the side. You have output, you have high. I'm going to guess it's just there's minimal volume control. The COM is for a microphone, I believe. 3 is not used. And then you've got some other controls to stop and start the machine. I suspect there's another box that I'm missing that's not, get this closer in camera, that's not here with this machine. I've actually got some patent information. Covered under U.S. patent number 3549823. No user serviceable parts inside. Well, we'll see about that. Yeah, so stand by. I'm going to try to figure out how to open this without breaking it. This thing is devilishly easy to service. There's only let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws. I accidentally took out a few extras, but the whole bottom panel slides out. You know, compared to the old one where you had to slide the entire assembly out of the case, which was a, you know, nightmare and a half, and take out 14 screws. This thing's actually amazing. This thing is nice. You could see that's from an era where smoking was not as prevalent indoors as it was when the other machines were ready. There's, you know, it's light nicotine staining, but nothing like the other ones. I mean, you take an example of these cartridges, for example. This one is a lightly used, non-nicotine stained one, and this one is a heavily used nicotine stained one. Just look at the color difference on that and staining. Oof. Surprised that it even works. But hey, that's a testament to its design. But as you can see in here, let's see if we can get that in camera. Nothing too crazy. I mean, it's very similar to the 3M machine. It looks like I got some busted plastic pieces, but that's neither here nor there for just the age of the machine. Let's see if I can pop one of these back in. I need to get in there with some epoxy. You could see how the trim bezel is held together by, looks like 6 screws on the outside, but I might be able to just kind of wedge it in there and just pinch it so it doesn't come apart if I don't drop any of the screws into it. Kind of surprising for a machine of this, I would say this time period, is that it actually uses, what's the word I'm looking for? It uses it's not using rubber coated wires, it's actually using fabric coated wires. And if this is a 79 build date, I don't know if that was just still common at that time period or what, but it's just a little odd. It looks like I might be able to get this board out. So if I take this connector off, forget where it goes. So I'll take this connector off, and now watch, it's going to break. When I put it all back together, it's going to be just broken. No, I don't think so, but you know, that's my luck these days. Looks like the circuit board has a chassis ground, several of them. go. Ah, I see. Okay. So funny enough, it looks like the circuit board is soldered, has got a hard solder connection to these. Look at that. Okay, there we go. Check that out. So obviously you got your volume and tone controls. Much simplified compared to the old style one. But you could see these are soldered. There's no provision for a connector. It's just straight directly onto this thing. Yeah, but this thing is a breeze to work on compared to the other one. I don't see any bulged or leaking capacitors, and obviously it still works, so yeah, I'm gonna chuck this thing back in there, put it back together, and see what she can do. Now, this is nice. Oh, I see what I should have done. Is I should have left those in and unscrewed it from the side, and it would have come straight out. But that's let future Chris deal with that. Alright, so while this is out, let's see what else we can see. Obviously we've got the drive for the cartridge itself. With the on-off switch, you can see, move that out of the way so I don't break it. You can see I can hear a micro switch. I'm not sure if that's coming up on the camera, but there's obviously a click. And so when you get past a certain point, it turns on. And you can see that actually moves all the various levers and gets the rubber roller in position to actually spin everything around. So that, if you remember on the 94 BG, that's all done mechanically. If you press a button, it actually mechanically engages the gears in the rotor and then turns on the device. It's kind of neat, but there's so many points of failure. You know, especially with these type of rubber rollers on the inside of the 94 BG going bad, I could see how it would fail. But in this case, it doesn't, because there's literally one rubber roller to go bad and the pinch reel. This thing that controls the drive mechanism right here that I'm spinning is made out of either pot metal or aluminum. You have this one drive belt, and then you have the actual motor itself. This one being a sealed unit, sealed for life anyway. There's no oil provision for it, unlike the other one. But that's metal, so it's metal on rubber on, you know, aluminum or pot metal. And then the rest of it is through this nylon gear assembly. And this is very easy to turn compared to the 94 BG. Interesting. Well, let me pause it here and put this back together, and I'll show you my audio cable solution for this. Alright, so we're back. So using the power of Harbor Freight and the internet, I got a couple of screw terminal connectors, I think. They're these U-shaped deals, so I put them on some speaker wire. And then I got a couple of these guys, which allow you to take speaker wire and terminate it to RCA phono, and that's what I've done. So now I can just integrate that into my regular 3M Cantata setup and see what happens. So stand by and we'll go ahead and set that up and see what happens. Alright, let's see if you can see that. Go. It's a good solid connection. I know the other one needs to go to ground. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect it to the chassis ground, which is this screw right here. It may not look that imposing. I'm just going to sneak this in there. Whoops, put it in backward. Just screw that down, and that should hopefully just at least be enough to so we don't get an 60 hertz buzz when you're listening to it. I don't like the way it's probably as good as it's going to be. It's going to be a little odd. That is what it is. I can run it back and you won't see it in the final product. There we go. So now if you've normally watched my channel and you could see it's angled this way, you don't see the red cable. Or maybe you will, who cares? Alright, so let's plug this in and see what it does. Sounds great. You're going to have to take my word for it on the next stream. But yeah, there it is. So expect to see this regular on the channel. Depending on how well some of these new recordings go, I might start re-recording some of the older versions, some of the quieter ones, some of the ones I get complaints on, but you know, more you know. Yeah, so if you got any ideas, questions, comments, throw them in the comment section. I read most of them. So let me know what you think. All right, but in any case, thanks for watching.